But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, everyone. Welcome to World Blockchain Roundtable, episode 54. Our hosts for today are Dave from Den Social.
Hello.
Satoshi Sean, entrepreneur and everyone's friend. Greg from Rivet. Jay from Eden by Interplay. And I'm Joe, founder and architect, Dragonchain. Quick update on the token distribution from last week's episode, which I missed, by the way. Sorry I wasn't here. Thanks everybody that was. It was actually really good. I got to watch it. So last week, all hosts will receive 111 lot. Every topic contributor, 27 lot. The theme was suggested by Alcy in Wonderland, who will receive 27 lot. Ownership tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes. Next, we also have an update for a couple of the DAO votes, that there was a June theme suggestion, and it is complete. This is the first show of that. So blockchain and gaming is the first episode in June. Second episode is blockchain and manufacturing. Third is request for analysis, which will be fun. Fourth, blockchain and a bear market. And fifth, NFTs coming to Instagram. I hope you all voted. But that's this month. Should be good. 5 weeks. And another thing, we have a new vote. That's, I think it's 30% complete, maybe something like that. Which is essentially to say that whoever does the intro and the other stuff gets extra lot, as long as they keep the window of time well, like try to keep everybody on task and getting to the next question and closing out and everything within 5 minutes of the allotted time, right? So we'll see if it works. I don't know. And we'll see if right now it looks like it's being voted up. I don't know if you guys have voted on it yet or not, but that's that. Okay, so current events. What do we have that we care to talk about?
Well, something crypto related that some folks might be interested in. Optimism Airdrop 1 is in fact live, and if you go if you want to find it, all you have to do is Google Optimism Collective, and you want the .io one, not anything but. And from there you can go through the claims process. If you do intend to sell, it's super easy, but they try to talk you into delegating first. So pick a delegate and then redeem them, and just don't do the second step if you want to sell them. So definitely worth getting that out there.
What is it? What is it though? What is it?
It is optimistic Ethereum. So it's a layer 2 roll-up solution that's really pretty slick, honestly. Like,
okay.
And you don't have to have the governance tokens to enjoy it. Obviously, it still runs off of optimistic Ethereum. So it's like just an Ethereum token that you can bridge over. Their bridge is super slick.
Nice.
And it's way lower fees, way faster. Way faster interactions. It's a really pretty neat system. So worth checking out in and of its own right. But if you are among the sort of people who try different chains and try layer 2s all the time, odds are you're qualified for a little bit. And if you meet one of the other qualification criteria, like you can get a pretty good chunk of tokens. So
nice.
Nothing to sneeze at in a down market for sure.
Right. That's good. Okay. Excellent. Anything else I'm going to cover on?
I've been out for like almost a week, so I've been catching up the last couple of days on stuff. I don't know. I would say that I realized how important it is to disconnect and unplug every now and then. We we have these black mirrors in front of our faces, so that's a current event for me. I unplugged. I don't do that very often.
It's impressive.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
When was the last time? When was the last time everybody else unplugged? I'm curious now.
For like more than 2 days. For more than 24 hours, like a solid weekend kind of thing. Not just like take an afternoon off.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been a while.
2008 ish for me, probably. No, I'm teasing, but close.
No, I have to go up out of signal, take a trip up into the mountains and lose signal, that kind of thing. Get a cabin in the woods. I have to make myself do it.
It's a good thing. Wow.
What else is going on though? Sean, what do you got going on? Besides the microphone over there.
Yeah, I know. I haven't slept yet. So I'm tired. I'm a little out of it. Can you shut down now? Is it possible? Because if I don't have my phone, I get nervous. You know,
like something's gonna happen and you won't know
I
about
leave
it
in the bathroom or something, and I'm like, oh, my phone is.
That feels like an appendage.
30 feet away. If something happens, or someone calls, if I get attacked, it's an emergency.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know if you can actually shut down now. It would be. There's a relief to it, though. I don't know if anyone's had if your phone breaks or if there's something that forces you to actually disconnect. There's like a relief, like, oh man, like I don't have to worry about it. But it's like, it's something that almost has to be forced on us now, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, and there's certainly an element of like, it's probably technically a relief to not have to control your left thumb, but like, we still like to keep those on us just in case we want to use them.
You know, when your parents like force you to do something and you're like, and then you're like, oh man, this was really, really good. I'm really glad that I got forced to do this. It's like that. Like for my niece's birthday, I told them I wanted to get them a trip. I was like, I want you guys to go on an adventure because you're, like one of them just getting married, the other one just had her second child, and I was like, you guys, life's gonna like just take over. You're not gonna be able to like go on adventures and do things as sisters anymore. I was like, I really want you guys to just go do something. And one of them is like the ultimate super textbook millennial. She's like scared of everything. And I was like, and before I even was gonna say you can't go to Harry Potter World. She was like, I'll go to Harry Potter World. And I was like, no, you can't go to anywhere in the United States. Go somewhere else. She's like, oh no, I'm too scared. I can't go out of the country. I was absolutely not. And I'm like, look, I'm forcing you guys to go do something, together to just get out of your comfort zone and go do something. I think we all should do that at least once a month. I don't know if you ever saw Ready Player One.
Oh yeah.
You know how he shut it down like every Tuesday in the end?
Yeah.
Everybody had to interact with each other. I think maybe we should do that like once a month. Just everybody shut everything, and not for a meal or something like that, like for an entire day.
We get addicted.
I think
to
we
this
could
stuff.
do like a partial shutdown. Like I think there should be a switch everybody should just flip that turns off all the notifications. So you don't even see badges on apps, and like your phone is just a blank slate for you to use or not.
I remember
feel like that changes a lot for people.
I remember whenever I used to play World of Warcraft, and they would have for the loading screens, it would have like don't forget you've got IRL friends. Like there's a whole world out there outside of this seat you're in, kind of thing. But there's a whole world in there too. It's like our own man-made multiverse. So it's like the curious mind is always like, man, there's so much in there I haven't seen yet. What's in there?
Oh yeah.
To tie it back, I mean, because this week, blockchain and gaming, right? I had, I don't know, way back, I had a thought, especially when we were just starting with Dragonchain, and every time you see a report of some kid dying in Asia at an internet cafe, right? Because they have some marathon gameplay going, and they're there for
they
like
would just like forget to eat or
5,
not
6
eat.
days, and then they just keel over. And I'm like, man, it was something that it's like theoretic. I thought, why wouldn't you include the break as part of the reward system, right? Like if you keep playing, it would taper off how effective it was. You would have to have purposeful breaks to come back, and then you would be able to do that with blockchain. You'd be able to do that and tune it. And it's gonna be kind of cool. I want to do it still.
Like time lapse plus events you have to wait on. Like imagine you're playing like something like Cyberpunk, and instead of sitting at the wait button, you hitting the wait button and it automatically lapses time. What if it's
real time,
17 hours away in real time?
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, or like for this show, John would have
like we're addicted. It's like an addiction. I haven't really been addicted to a lot of things, but I think that it is that nervous feeling that you get if you can't connect, especially for us. I can't imagine what it's like for people younger that
have always known it,
that have always had it. Yeah. I remember just watching like my kids' friends, because my kids aren't that bad, but my kids' friends, they couldn't sit and just be calm for like 10 minutes. Like they had to like say something or do, and that they needed constant stimulus and constant entertainment. And I was like, dude, you're like an addict. You're like, feigning for something. I was like, can you chill out? It's like I'm chill. I'm
scratching his neck and shit.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a voluntary cyborg, so like not having it on me isn't so much a worry as it is a source of just pretty much boredom.
We had our line cut on is Monday or Tuesday. It would have been Tuesday. So after the other show, we didn't have broadband at home, but we still had 5G. So it's this interesting thing. You always have the secondary layer now. Okay, well we can just run through our our phones now. It's kind of funny, but you couldn't stream on the TV without a lot of extra effort. It wasn't worth it, right? It's just a strange thing. Just that whole switch. It's an annoyance, right?
So here's an interesting question. Would it be worse or better to have a direct brain interface?
Better, way better.
I'd be down. I'm more of a like, you can microchip me and throw shit in my brain if it works. Like if I can flip a switch and then like, oh, I can do surgery now, like the Matrix or something.
Exactly.
That if we can get there, okay.
Have y'all seen the new contacts that are like that?
Mm-mm.
They're like Terminator, where they show what it looks like through the cyborg's eyes, and
oh yeah, and it's picking up people's facial recognition and telling you information about them.
Now.
Wait,
are they real?
An IRL
HUD?
Buy them,
That's
not
kind
just
of awesome.
research.
Yeah, they're real, and you can buy. I want to buy them. That is.
I can't put contacts in my eyes though. I can't do that.
Google said they couldn't do, so they canceled the Google Glass thing that was going to eventually be that.
No, I saw an ad for them.
Blame Scoble for that one. That picture of him in the shower ruined that.
Pretty
whole
sure
product.
they're Chinese, but
It would be.
yeah, and they're. I don't know how that they connect to your, like how you can control it.
Oh yeah.
There's some basic like cool functions, and you see it. Like tracking, and it's very, very weird.
Well,
Speaking of
10 years ago, I would have done it, but now I wouldn't trust anyone to do that now. Like the firmware would be compromised. You would have a direct. It's like, oh, now we can see your thoughts. Now we can see everything you're looking at. Now we can, everything that you type through your brain interface. And
that's kind of what I was going to get at. Yeah,
Orwell interface.
Because Greg was talking about Cyberpunk. We're doing gaming and stuff this week, and like that's the dystopia that's been described to us in the for decades. to the point where like you have to pay attention to the manufacturer of your implant because these have a reputation for spazzing out and frying your brain every now and then, so they're cheaper. So you might want to go with the upgraded one, but that's a Chinese one, so you can't. We have a corporate policy against using that brand for our engineering group, that kind of thing. So
The thing that freaks me out is like
the direction.
Initially, the feature that I was most excited about for brain interface was that you could just have knowledge, like right there. Like it's not that you have to search; it's that you just know. What bothers me about that now is, who's curating that? Like, what do I get to just know?
It's the
same problem.
It's the same problem we have now, just hyperdrive. It's just it would just be direct in there, and it might be harder to sort out. Oh wait, that came from this source. That came from that source. Right. Whereas if it's just coming in your,
Oh yeah, I mean, and if you get used to it, you wouldn't think, okay, I need to wave a red flag in the air if I try to come up with an idea and nobody else has had it, or it seems like nobody else has had it.
Maybe it's good for the NPCs though. Maybe it would be in the end. Maybe that's the intent. I don't know. Man. All right. So you want to go on? Do you want to go? So we're doing blockchain and gaming. We have a few questions, so we just start hitting them up because a couple of them were pretty interesting.
Yeah, you got me with the NPC comment there for a minute because I visually like that literal meme of the cartridge swap.
Yeah.
Where it's like you take a cartridge out that says one thing and you put in another cartridge that says the other thing and it's like, oh, that's exactly what we're talking about.
The current thing is uploaded today. Okay,
it's very creepy, actually.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Here we are.
Twitter's just an extremely unreliable and inefficient.
Yeah. Quick random aside, though, guys, if you want to see a real life Wojak, just watch the movie Titan.
Have I seen that? I don't think I've seen that. Okay.
Gotta look it up now.
They turn him into one. Like the whole movie is like.
Really? Wow.
It's fantastic.
Okay. First question from Get Your Popcorn Ready. Which crypto gaming is more impressive for you guys, Illuvium or VRA, which is Veracity? Is that right? Veracity, correct? Yeah, Veracity. So what do you guys know? What do you think?
Well, I was just looking into Illuvium, and it's super purple, which I love. So I'm probably going to pick that one. It's my favorite color, and they've blanketed the whole website in that color. So right off the bat, they're ahead for me. But no, in all seriousness, it looks cool. Like I didn't really know about it, or I'd heard something about it in the past, but I'd never seen any fruition of like since it was announced, I guess. And I completely forgot about it until this episode, and I had to look up what it was. And it looks dope. It looks cool, man. I read their FAQ a little bit. I love what they're doing with not requiring you to like buy this token they have to play the game, but you can if you want to participate in that economy. It's kind of like they have a land sale where people can host matches, I guess, on your land, and you earn revenue from that. So it's cool. It's tying in. I'm all for, and I don't know as much about the other one, but I'm all for like putting people's grind to work for them so that we can have, some approximation of a UBI. But you work for it. It just doesn't feel like it, that kind of thing. So that's where I am with gaming and play to earn and stuff like that. I love the free to play plus play to earn.
I think that's a big thing that we're missing is the free to play. The barriers are so high when it comes to play to earn. And I mean, in all honesty, they've been shit games, man.
Kind of proof of concepts, really, right?
Yeah, it's more for for nerds and for like, hey, look at what we can do now, but
it feels like the demo pack
this year, 2022, has been such a revolution for quality. I think everything that I've been seeing, like this is amazing. There's a lot more game designers. Not so much blockchain, not so much like those kind of, but just regular game developers, regular people in the gaming industry, even if they're not developers, storytellers, artists. they're coming into blockchain gaming a lot more, either signing on as advisors or as actual team members. And I've just noticed this massive leap forward in quality when it comes to games and playability.
I still think there's there is a weird disconnect gap where when good game devs come in, they tend to not know everything that can be done with blockchain. And if it is from the other side, if it is the blockchain people, they don't know how to build good games necessarily, or everything is very tunnel vision about what you can do with. Okay, it's an NFT and it's play to earn, and that's it, right? And it's a weird thing that I think I had always wanted. I mean, one of our projects on the side, in fact, I think there's even a bounty for it, was to get, like, say, a game that's already fun, either open source or if somebody has the rights to it, and apply some blockchain mechanics, either with the economy, with the items, something with the game, because I think you could improve games that are already fun in very interesting ways. But you really need a fun game, or else it's kind of pointless. So,
and that's been, the frustration y'all have with the number go up. To me, it's been play to earn. It's like, hey man, you can play to earn, and that's the main focus, is that you can make money in playing this game. But is it fun? Yeah, but you can play to earn. But does it look cool? Is it is it enjoyable? You can play to earn, man. It's like, yeah, but and that's been the main focus, which has been great. And I think,
do you hate your life while you're doing it? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, right. And that's the biggest thing. Do you hate it more than your life? Because that's why it's done so much. I think that it's been so revolutionary, and blockchain gaming has done more for adoption, and I think to help people, because it's not a fun game. It's a boring, grinding, ugly looking game, but it's better than my life, and it's better than my options in my country to earn money.
You think about it.
That's why it is done well. But when it comes to what it's designed for, an enjoyable entertainment value, it really hasn't been there.
Yeah. Like I spent most of my, of all of the gaming I've ever done, the vast majority of it was in the 80s, like with, Commodore 64 and or arcade. And so, the graphics are, it's an interesting thing. I tend to even dismiss high-end graphics because they usually compensate for not being as
like
fun.
The original pixel art for Super Mario 1, like that was fucking amazing artwork in the sense that the designers of that color palette had to do just the right thing. And they had to assemble it just so, and there were so many limitations on how much they could do at one time.
And the programmers had and engineers had to do tricks on the hardware to get it to run smoothly, to display correctly.
Even the music is like the amount of effort back then to produce something that was, passable and actually enjoyable and memorable. It's pretty amazing. So
even like
I have
some of the
ton of Chrono Trigger soundtrack. Like
Chrono Trigger is one of them.
To this day.
I was going to say, it's like some of the emulators. If you try to play some of the older games, there's some weird things you have. There's one emulator that goes down to the transistor scale and replicates in software what the old consoles did, so that games that had hackery would still display correctly and play correctly in the emulator, because they had done some stuff that was only because of a nuance of a certain piece of hardware that was able to pull it off or something.
Oh, right. Well, I think there's a huge opportunity to do stuff with games that nobody has tried to do before, like true multimodal play. Like if you were to have a persistent asset that represents you as a player, for example, or represents your inventory or whatever. Who's to say that the game can't literally be simultaneously requiring you to interact with with your phone or with a game console or with a computer, or just like some random spot in the real world.
Yep.
Like it's been tried in one mode. Like there'll be a game where you have to go out and Pokemon Go it around and whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
You're out in the world hunting stuff,
which is pretty
but
good.
it doesn't throw it onto the console in the same game. Like nobody has gone to that extra step.
Yeah,
and I feel
that's
like
true. I want to go out and hunt my Pokemons, and then like come home to a console, throw it in, and then use them in a different game. That kind of thing.
and I want
not
to
even a different game, like the same game, just like
a different Pokemon game. I want to go catch them
like
in
a
the
new
go catch them
context.
game, and then
and then use them somewhere.
come
Well,
back and use them somewhere else.
scarcity. I want scarcity on it. That's the weird thing about the AR stuff is how would you handle scarcity if you don't know when someone will pop up in the middle of nowhere? Well, how do we handle, okay, we only have so many of these Pokemon, right? That's what they theoretically, that's what they should be doing. They should have limited numbers of them, and it would introduce the ability to actually catch something. It's like there are no more of those out there. They're all caught.
Oh, right.
You could release one maybe. I want to know what Jay thinks too, because you're working on something right now, right? So
with blockchain, I think that is the next generation of video games. I do think Ethereum and Polygon really are the next generation consoles. How we have decentralized cloud computing, and even with scarcity, you're saying oracles can really prove that this is a verifiable scarce asset just appearing. I do think that really all these game industries, all the game companies out there, they're working on a blockchain or NFTs or discovering it right now. Next year, next 2 years, especially next 5 years, it's just going to be very commonplace that play to earn will just be another aspect of the game. Not necessarily the focus, but just part of all games.
Yeah. Do you guys think they should have automatic sort of like the right way to do it is to drop something of value right away, so everybody's a shot at playing the game without having to grind out and earn something? Or should they start from nothing and have to like rent from people who are established?
That's a really good question, because you could do how do you say this? You could have free play. You could come in and say, okay, I have a game piece, so I have maybe some extra playability because I bought a license, right? But maybe you can play stuff in, maybe you find one and there's, they're randomly out there in gameplay. Maybe you can play as a certain type of character in battle and win something within, rather than buying it, so that essentially you could play either route. But there are some, with scarcity, there's some really neat things you can do, because you could, let's say, level the playing field on with people who have the money versus the people who don't, by essentially one interesting model that I was talking to someone about just this past week was where say you have items, and the items are expensive and you can earn them, you could you could buy them, you can find them, whatever else. But let's say I have 100 because I put $50,000 into this because I freaking love this game, whereas you don't have, it's like, oh, you just started, you're not putting any money in. That essentially bringing those items into a battle or a match or whatever the thing would be, that you could essentially say, I'm going to arrange them in the order that I would want them. I might have 50 items depending on who I'm playing, but whoever provides the smaller amount, if the person who doesn't have any items says, I have no items to bring in, then both of them have to play with no items, right? And it's an interesting thing, because then you can actually match them in a way that's fair, even though one might have a bunch of stuff and one doesn't. But it's also an extra bit of strategy, right? So there's some really cool stuff because of scarcity that you can do some neat things. But
yeah, and that's the other part of that question earlier was this question that we're on was about veracity, or whatever it's called, and that's something that I like about as far as like what can we do with blockchain that you couldn't do with without it. You can to an extent, you could fix advertising and get it the fuck out of my games, for one, right? You can, like with Veracity, they're doing this proof of view kind of thing, right? Where of course everything's plagued with bots and click bots and advertisements and micro suggestions and things like that. But all of that sort of plays with something like that. You could incorporate that into like what we do with Den, where there's tasks that need to be done. Somebody was talking earlier about sweat equity items versus buying them on the open market kind of thing. If you design your game to where tasks that get done provide value, even if it means like, you don't have to have a community manager because there's somebody that does that and they get an item in the game that otherwise they would have to go buy. You can do all that kinds of stuff and combine these systems in a way, these concepts in a way that really, it makes it a self-running machine. And then the game could be a DAO. The game itself could be that and run by itself with the players and the community and things like that. And if you don't have money, you can earn the stuff. And if you do have money, then you can buy the stuff and maybe skip the part you don't like about grinding out.
Yep. And essentially it's, and I know whenever we've spoken to anyone about anything like this, it all essentially boils down to behavior. What's the behavior that you want from the game player, and or what is the behavior that the game players would value, right? Both for themselves and for others, right? Because you could essentially fix some issues with some games where they turn into, I can't remember which one it was. My son was playing, and it was, essentially you wherever you spawn, you're just going to get killed because people are just hanging around.
Oh, right.
That's all it is they
camping the spawn points,
like Rust, basically.
Yeah. So it's it's like you could change some of those behaviors if it's desired, right? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's problems. If it's desired, if the game company wants to solve problems that have been impossible to solve, they can look at this stuff. We talked to Greg and I talk about No Man's Sky quite a bit. That's a game that could desire blockchain integration. It could be really neat. It could be really awesome. It could enable a lot of things, make it super powerful, last forever. A game that I think needs it though, right? I think
so worth it.
Oh yeah, it's still a nice to have though with No Man's Sky. I think other games like what Star Citizen is doing, Eden. There are some games that might need this kind of thing, right? When Star Citizen comes out, think about how much money people paid for these spaceships in software that are modeled, right? That have no proven scarcity. Like people have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars on in-game spaceship things, and then an insurance policy in case you crash it. Like without any provability of the scarcity of that item. And I think that like Star Citizen is such a new game that's not out yet, that they still have time to incorporate tech like that into it for when this becomes full.
I feel like open source is too unexplored in games to really reap some of the rewards here. Like, imagine you have an idea for a No Man's Sky ship. Mm-hmm. You can't plug into the No Man's Sky API, and you can't offer that to an open market, and you can't get paid in crypto for your creation. So even if you did build a mod where you could customize some ship and everybody loved it, there's no path for that to get into the game. To me, like one of my ultimate gaming, kid daydreams that I always wanted was sort of an epic fantasy, but where the goal was to become, like the best swordsmith in the MMO. People seek out your brand, your products because you can build this thing that nobody else can. You can't really do that without scarcity. Like that sort of thing couldn't exist in a way that would be really meaningful if you also want to include a lot of players, and it's not just like your own personal universe.
And that's, I think, in the end, one of the things that a lot of the game companies are missing, because they had a huge pushback from a lot of gamers saying they hate NFTs. This is horrible, because a lot of it probably from the crypto bro stuff and the number go up stuff that's just culturally clashing with, we're just wanting to play a game. But the issue is, because of that, a lot of gaming studios, because what you just mentioned is essentially a marketplace for creators, right? So if you want to build a better character than we've provided, here it is. Yeah, we're going to take a little fee, but you're going to make money doing that, which would drive the community, for one. It would, because you'd have better quality stuff. You'd have a way for people to plug into it, and it could be from Think about it. Minecraft. Why is their mod system not standardized and just here it is? It's a marketplace. He's like, oh, I can.
Well, you know what?
Or even
like
community
Bethesda's
governed
doing
changes.
that. I think Bethesda's doing
to
that
the main
with,
to the main game arc.
like Skyrim.
Yep. Creators Club. Yep.
Yeah. So they're basically all they do is they what's the word? I haven't slept all night because I've been playing.
They curate
all night, been grinding all night long, playing the game. But basically, they certify. They go through the mods, they certify the mods, and then you can buy them.
Yeah.
But you can make money that way. And and Bethesda was one of the first ones. Zenny, they created marketplaces within a game, which was so revolutionary and cool. I remember when I was working at Xbox, just the idea of NFTs and because to bring real value to an item in a game, I think it has value. That's why I paid real money to get this extra item. And there's people spend so much money on in-game purchases. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars.
Do you guys have a favorite gaming NFT that you own right now?
But to be able to sell that, and because there's something, I mean, like, oh, if I had this, and you work, you grind, you save, and then you afford this item, this sword, this whatever, literally, like 2 days later, it's worthless to you. You got
your sword of 1,000 truths,
right? But then to be able to sell that on a secondary market in the game was just so amazing. And I think it was Zenny that did that in like Neverwinter.
Dude, the first iteration of Star Wars Galaxies had the best marketplace.
But that's just so cool. And I think that there's this revolution in gaming that we don't talk about is where people, you really got control over what you were spending your money on. You weren't just throwing money into the fire. It continued to have value, and to be able to own an NFT, and there's still so much that can be done to be able to move it. I think, Joe, you've made the point. It's like, you have this one gun in this one game. You can't bring it into, a fantasy, game where everything's, swords. And it's like, I have this, AK of bleeding. It's like, how do you use it? How does it work? So there's so much that could be creatively done. I think we're gonna see amazing things when it comes to blockchain, crypto, and gaming.
It makes games real.
Same.
Basically, it just makes games.
I just hope
the game that you
SEC
love.
gets over involved, so it's funny. Like the headlines will read that they're coming after, like the Pokemon for creating a security.
They're finally going after Beanie Babies.
You saying that the meme of the kid? I can't remember where it was. Some kid in Indonesia that couldn't afford a Nintendo Switch, so he made one in a cardboard and stuff, and that the creator, or sorry, the CEO of Nintendo was so moved that he flew there in person to push a lawsuit to the kid. Sorry. The other thing, let's say you have a new game, it's multiplayer or whatever else, that hasn't really been thought about too much is the history, the fact that in a crypto-based game or a blockchain-backed game, you can essentially have a provable history for everything, every match, every new character creation, all those things that before wouldn't exist. There'd be no way other than maybe if it's recorded by the game studio, you would.
Right.
That's a really interesting.
Getting a hold of the Elder Wand has new meaning in that case, right?
Because you have an in-game item. I mean, we're talking about just the ability to own the in-game item, to transfer the in-game item, but you're creating a history of that item.
Yeah.
Literally, you could say this sword was owned by Jerry Seinfeld when he played this back in 2018. That's,
Well,
that's
even more than that,
We-
it was
we
used
have
in
a,
these battles to defeat these foes of this type, and so it inherits a name based on the
Yes.
frequency of like, oh, the person who used it was famously always fighting in, against these types of baddies. So it's this baddie sword.
And yeah, if you'd have a right to name the item, that type of thing, and or it would have so many orc kills, and therefore become some magical thing.
Right.
It's
So
like, it's cool.
here's another fun unexplored area: PvP, and what you can do if you can in fact like disarm somebody and take their thing. Did you just take their NFT from them?
Mhm.
Like, can you hijack somebody's crypto motors car? And if
That's
you
how
can
it
get away,
was
it's
in
yours. Like,
Ready Player
how
One
far
was
do you
like
take that?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to happen because, like, even the stuff that's happened in the gaming economies where they've had actual, I guess, the equivalent of bank robberies, partial hacks, partial robbery. They've had assassinations and like EVE Online stuff like that. You plug NFTs into that, and it's a totally it's a crazy.
Yeah, if I get
EVE
a
Online is a cool
notification,
story, actually.
you were talking about, and Joe, you love talking about, influencing human behavior with software. But if I had a notification that a provably scarce asset, in-game asset, we'll use Pokemon again, right? Oh, there's a Mumba Wumba is right around the corner from your house, or down the, in the next town over. Even if it's rare enough, if it's provably scarce, and it's not like, oh, I'm lazy, I'm not feeling like it out, maybe I'll get another one day. It's like, oh no, this is super rare. I'll organize an expedition to go hunt that bastard down, with other people to go get it in a way that I wouldn't do if it was just just like a random occurrence on a non-blockchain situation.
Without it being a scarce,
Yeah,
single item, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think it allows a higher degree of motivation whenever you want to influence behavior in a game, I guess. So,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, and the crazy thing is, I guess theoretically, even that loss of weapons in boating accidents could be proven. Right. That's an interesting thing.
Right.
And
It's at the
one
bottom
more.
of the sea now. Like, you can.
One more.
you
I
can go
got
deep
I got
dive
a
and go
bunch of
get it.
guns this week. I can go over that in the current
Why
events.
are they not NFTs yet? Right? Or why? I'm sure.
I don't know.
No. One other interesting pattern would be things like table games, and I don't even know what semantics to use, but something like a D&D, right? I mean, I played D&D a few times in junior high, right? I had some buddies. It was fun, interesting. But the fact that with the advent of the internet and decentralized potential to play the games, that your character could be proven. It's like, no, this is actually what was rolled. It was on whatever date 3 years ago, and these are the campaigns this character's been on, and how it's leveled up. So I could bring it to, to be any game, but I could then bring it to other players in another town, and they wouldn't have to, you're full.
They wouldn't think you're bullshitting them. Like, you didn't do that.
Right.
You're not that high of a character.
Which,
Or like,
think of the interesting level there if those characters were transferable for one, and provable and scarce, right? That I control this character, so I'm going to play it. Crazy, right? Really interesting stuff.
that has really interesting implications for like homebrew items. Like, I don't know if you guys played a lot of these games, but like one of the most fascinating elements of tabletop gaming to me is when whoever is GMing decides to create some new item based on some other item. It's perfectly importable. It just adds unique flavor. But a lot of that stuff doesn't transfer well because it's it's hard to say, like, yes, this looks like a laser rifle, but it's really just a heavy crossbow. Like,
Arguing.
it's another neat thing.
I want to answer that question.
NFTs can do.
Provably rare is it's simple. If somebody copies an NFT, then it's not the item.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a Sony TV, then that's a Sony. If you have a Sorny, it's a different company. It's a different TV. It's a different warranty. It's not the same thing. So if someone can copy an NFT, but it's not the NFT. They're not really creating more. It's just that. It's just a copy. So provably rare. It's easy.
Yeah.
Well, it could also be funny to let people closely copy too. Like, I mean, imagine if someone did make a TV called the Sony and it was better than Sony. I mean, same typography and everything, but just a better TV. Like, I think it would be hysterical if we saw, knockoffs becoming more popular than the real thing.
We used to intentionally, when I was in the Navy, we would pull into a port to resupply, and we would go out and we would hit a lot of things. But one of the things we would do is intentionally buy the knockoff brand stuff, like go grab some Folkleys or something from the marketplace, and they were great. They were good, like people put time into making a really good copy, and they did their job. So. Yeah.
Back then, now not so much, man.
Yeah. Oh well, this is a while ago, I guess.
Yeah, now some of them they're funny. They're just hilarious.
We liked the kids really liked going into the marketplaces and buying the American flavored whatever, right? We would have these stars and stripes. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I saw that the branding is out of control on that stuff. Like I saw like celebratory stars and stripes on 9/11 cakes at a Winn-Dixie in Florida.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, you guys are really just pushing the boundaries here, aren't you? With flags and stuff.
Could you imagine trying to make that cake like back right after it happened? Like,
I know, right?
You'd get thrown out of the store.
And there were several. It was like a thing that chain did at all their stores. And so I don't know. But
wow.
That's where my mind went, I guess.
Let's go to next. Let's go to
next question.
Okay. Dragonchain Hodler. Question: what can blockchain gaming learn from decentralized social media, and what can decentralized social media learn from blockchain gaming?
Super close, like relation there, right? Like I was just talking about basically this a minute ago, with how games can incorporate, like you got chat rooms in games, you got chat in game and stuff like that, but incorporating, incentivizing social interactions that you want to see in your game. Like you don't want what do you call them? I mean, my mind is pulling a blank. People that camp the spawn points and not grifters, but
assholes.
Campers.
Assholes. Yeah. Grief. Yeah, you don't want people just griefing people all the time. You're right. So like things that you can do to add friction to stuff you don't want to see, because like multiplayer environments, this has been a problem since kids on Xbox playing together. You know what I mean? Shouting.
Though might be policing the beaches with your high level fighter.
Well, it's more like play to earn is more like it can be sort of like a loose boundary where you can cross it instead of like a hard line that you can't do in the game, making things more squishy, making the rules a little bit more fuzzy, but then it's like a gradient of penalty or reward as you step across that boundary.
And
it
could be reputation kind of stuff, but people can kind of think of it that way. But I think with any behavior system, the keys are not making it a harsh, you can only do X, you can't do Y. But instead making it clear that if you do X, then you get this, and if you do Y, you get that, or, and therefore letting them decide, but so they can throw in a little bit of bad behavior and, keep it being fun, but still mostly kind of follow.
What I think that
I really would like to see, like, social media has one thing going for it in decentralization. Like if you go broad, right, like you can see federation being a really important thing. And I think you can solve a lot of these problems by allowing federated instances of the game to permit certain things and not permit others, right? Like, if you want the hardcore game that's that's pretty heavy on the player-driven dynamics, then you might join the guild that primarily makes its money by policing the beaches. But you might also join a server where there's no PvP. And that's okay. Like we should be willing to take that lesson, I think, from social media. The federation is a win, even if it even it creates a little disunity in the universe.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I don't like, for example, I don't like the way that. So there's a thing called Fallout 1 or with Fallout 76, where you can have private servers and stuff. I'm not sure if they still have that or they rebranded it or whatever. But you could do private servers, but it had to be their server on their machine running in their environment, and you just rented it from them. Being able to plug in something running from my office for my buddies because we want to have a game server and make sure it plays nice with the rest of that network and doesn't destroy other people's experience. I think that's what you're talking about, right? Being able to have a way to interconnect that.
Like you might be on a gaming protocol for a particular type of game, but you don't want to play with people who are going to play PvP spawn points. So you join a federated game that bars that. Or maybe you want the challenge of that and you want to have player-driven systems emerge. So
it's like a LAN party. You got your own infrastructure there. Just have a LAN party. They've always been cool. They're still cool. It's just that, it's just not done that way anymore. And I don't know. Can LAN parties back?
There can be some. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, going back the other way, I think that games do something really unique that I hate to see get lost in social, and it does sometimes, not always, but like games have silly moments where there's like something to do that has no purpose other than to amuse people. And it's largely left open to the players to make those choices about where to be silly. And I think social media should hang on to, enough open space where there's opportunity for weirdness.
Maybe that's what social media, decentralized social media can learn from blockchain.
Yeah, it's
is to keep a sense of humor and allow a little bit of silliness.
Yeah,
because social media, you can get angry there easily.
There is something too about potentially with censorship versus not, because I would say, as an example, in social media as it goes, that like Twitter has a radically higher volume than 4chan. But I would argue that 4chan, if you're looking for humor, happens to be way funnier than Twitter per capita, right? Twitter has to have a tremendous amount of volume to get to anything, and most of the time it's copying stuff from 4chan for meme works. But that there's something there too, because anonymity brings a lot of value. Where it also brings a lot of negatives, right? But if you know and you're willing to say, well, I'll accept the negatives because this is way more fun to play with these people on an anonymous server than otherwise.
Well, the reason trolls exist.
Yeah,
it can be fun and entertaining.
They're just really loyal fans for weird things and people. Like I always think about trolls as like, if I'm getting razzed by somebody, it's like, oh, you must really enjoy me. That's pretty cool, I guess.
You know what else? Like both communities could learn from each other, and I guess it's kind of the same thing. But when you're playing a game, it's kind of in your mind that you're in a game world. You're in a game. It's a freaking game. If you're on social media and you're talking to people, you don't always think about that you're in a computer world. You're in a thing. You're in an approximation of a real social experiment. That kind of thing. It's a freaking game still. So and then the other way around, whenever you're playing, let's say it's a deathmatch PvP, that kind of thing. It's just a game, but like when you get into online bullying and the way that people sometimes talk to people on the other end of the game, it's like, these are people. This is a social interaction. I know it's just a game, but these are real people that you're talking to. So maybe those are, some more, there's a different answer for what they could learn from each other.
And NPCs.
The ability to share. Like I know with Then Social, the idea is you want to share content maybe from other sources, and from gaming, there isn't really so much idea of sharing. You don't really share your game to other games. That's kind of the ultimate goal with NFTs is interoperability, to kind of bridge your game asset to another game, or to even share your game with another player. Like if you have an NFT, you can technically share it with someone else who's going to play with it and level it up for you, especially with all these people who buy the really expensive NFTs, they kind of loan them out. So sharing is another concept.
Yeah, you can rent your character out.
And that's, by the way, for game studios, we talked to one a few years ago specifically about using NFTs, whether they're tradable on Ethereum or not was another question, but the ability to say, this is a real item. And the discussion was kind of revolving around the fact that when they make follow-ons, either in a series of games, over the years, here's the next of that same series. So the people who like it will typically switch. But if you have these items, it's hard to get them to switch to the new one because and that's a really good way to get existing players to move to the new version, because you're going to have all the items you already have. You're going to move over here and we have some extra, new stuff. So there are a lot of
a whole new property on the items you have will make sense now.
Yeah.
You can add a row to that table, and make sure that you just call out to some kind of extended function from the data store on the NFT, and you can add new features
and exactly. And the other thing that's interesting, let's say you have a super popular game, you have a new version out. Theoretically, you could shut down the old version unless you have certain item or playing pieces for that older version. Nobody else could ever get in. So now all of a sudden, the value of those items,
So like older versions of the game, kind of like the conception of hard forks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or
it'd be interesting.
you got to not update your client if you want to play on this version.
Yeah. Like when World of Warcraft recreated the good version of WoW, it was like, we're just going to go back to that.
But that's actually a sad thing too about some of these older games, is like the studios will have to shut down the servers for these only games that exist online.
Yeah.
And these sequels that come out to kind of get more gamers into a new game, it is great if they can bring in their old items or their old stats. It's all still there.
Yeah.
But then the game could be actually shut down. But with NFT games, the idea is it probably won't shut down unless the Ethereum network goes down, or maybe Solana could go down. So maybe Solana is not the best network to really build on.
That's a really good point. Like, what are they doing for? I know I'm waiting for the second installation of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Right? They only put out 1/3 of the game as the first.
Right. Still got lots of individual hairs to render.
So I've got to bring all of that stuff over from the first game into the second game. I'm not going to go. I mean, I will if they make me, but So I wonder if it would make that process. I'm sure it would make that process easier and not rely on their servers to do that whole thing.
The other money they were waiting for Unreal 5 to be in final version to finish them.
But the other thing, I spoke to someone a week and a half ago from essentially they're developing some game up here, and we were talking about all the things about blockchain, and again, it's the number go up thing kind of shoehorns all this stuff into something that they don't care about, and so we had to kind of break the conversation away from tokens and tokens and tokens to what you can actually do. And one of the there were a couple of things that interested this person, but one of them was the ability to leverage a DAO, and it might not even have to be a pure DAO. It might, but essentially to give based upon a score of reputation of you as a player, you have weight in helping us decide: is this item overpowered? Should we make this change to the game? Should this next thing go out right now? And stuff like that, I think, could improve. Number one, improve a lot of the issues that a lot of games for any system really have had. But also, I think it would reduce their cost, because you're essentially having tons of testing going on by people who are passionate about it, and not just somebody who's in a cube.
Virtual world politics could be a game in and of itself, frankly.
Yes.
Like, imagine a player-founded city where you decide to chase down and go with a litocracy form of government, or like some other town stupidly votes one player to be their tyrant, and this guy actually rules the thing.
City states.
That would be epic. I would play that game.
Yes, I love it. You want to go to the next question?
Yeah, what do we got there?
And there is one more, I think, after that too.
Ooh, this is my favorite one.
Okay, Jacob Wayne. Is it possible that a lot of classic retro games are redeveloped to be included in the metaverse, or at least on a blockchain?
Possible, yes. I don't know when we'll get there, but man, do I want to have an arcade, like a real arcade in the metaverse, where I can just go like I have ever since ever since DeFi happened. I've had this collection of coins that are worthless and tokens that I can do nothing with ever again, because I was playing in that sandbox. And so I've always had this idea of like a shitcoin arcade where you could just go do something with them, go play random games with them or something like that. But more than that, man, I want to see. It's one of the early things when I was first looking into Dragonchain, where I was like, you could take, if you own the game and the IP and you have the original source code and stuff for these old games, you could throw that into an L1 node on the blockchain, and you could tie in different actions that you do in the game. The thing's written, the game's a classic, it's already there. You could hook in like meaningful blockchain interactions on an old piece of software that you've got and re-release it and make money. And as a development cycle for your company, that's like, if you've been doing it for years, that's like, oh yeah, we'll throw some of those out there. Like companies are already with phone apps, they release, like, if you'll go through the effort of releasing a shitty version on a phone just because it makes money, you can do it. You can make it do something actually cool, and you'll make money again. So I'm waiting for that to happen, for people to realize that blockchain is way more than what they think it is.
Yeah, I think
two-player head-to-head.
This is like Ready Player One. This question, when you look at not blockchain but the metaverse, this is what you dreamed of when you're 12 years old. That you could play Joust, you could literally get onto the bird and play.
Or you get the extra life by beating Pac-Man extremely well and in a difficult way. But you can prove that
become
you did
Pac-Man.
that.
I want a two-player head-to-head game.
These old
where the
IPs
loser has to take my shit
can get
coins.
life again.
Yeah,
and these companies can make money again by going into the metaverse and just basically re-releasing the game in like augmented reality and virtual reality.
And esports can go remote, and everybody can wear a mask and be safe, but still be provably fair instead of having to be in the same place. There's a lot of reasons to do stuff like that.
Command and Conquer, yeah.
Dude. Imagine if you had MAME.
Callback.
So you hook up MAME, multiple arcade emulation, whatever.
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
So and you put all the ROMs in there, and lawyers come after you, right? But essentially what you could do, and I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, make sure I make that clear, but that you could essentially reward the ROMs individually. So for every play, and then let's say, a Capcom or Atari or somebody comes in and says, oh, that's ours, they could claim it. Like, there's all of the rewards sitting there.
You can still pay royalties like that. That's brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
record it.
Would there be still objectors? I think there would be to ROMs if they paid royalties NFT style.
Is that how easy we have to make it for the gaming industry, to where other people have to do the work and say,
want these games off the market, though?
Like, this is your business on Google Maps. Oh, claim your business.
Right. That's what they do.
This is your ROM on this network. Oh, claim your ROM. That kind of thing.
We should have had the head of Atari here for today's show.
Yeah. Should have had as many people.
I should have done that. I'm sorry.
That would have been cool to do.
Break in here, yeah.
Fail.
Yeah, well, they're really I mean, they try to jump on the blockchain and crypto, bandwagon early on, and they have been doing a lot when it comes to that. Also, probably be a good idea just to get them hooked up with you guys. With Dragonchain and Rivet and all.
Yeah, they could definitely use it for their casino systems and stuff like that too. The Atari stuff.
I'll get them on.
As far as like provable fairness and things like that, to where there's always this, whether it's an urban legend or not, there's always this sort of like, oh, the house is slimy. So if you can unclimb your house with blockchain, then why not?
By the way, that is, and there are a bunch of things, whether it's about history, real event history, whether it's real world stuff or if it's in-game history, whatever it would be, but that the provably fair or the measurable entropy that you can get from blockchains, it still blows my mind that gaming companies haven't just said, holy shit, we don't care about anything else, give us that, because it solves.
It's like discovering radio or something. It's like this whole different environmental medium that you can use for stuff.
Right.
And we haven't even figured, like, I mean, I haven't figured out a lot of shit, but like it's all just waiting to be molded into something useful for whatever company wants to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever spectrum they want to use, right? Whatever blockchain they want to use. You know, you have to license that asset, and same with radio. Everybody has a different blockchain or a different network or a different thing, and you got to use it with, you know, with whatever. Except you don't need the middlemen licensing it. It is just done in a way that it exists as an environmental thing that exists in the world. You know, it's just
and that's all things. Whether it's casinos, whether it's regular video games, that's the thing that I'm wanting to see most is this ability to prove this thing really happened, the ability to prove that none of us playing could possibly predict the where an item spawned or whatever else, right? And it's just a beautiful thing. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say I kind of wonder if some more traditional gaming studios are going to be really late to the party because they don't want to, hand players that much power over their intellectual property. Like, for example, like we haven't seen a rush by major music labels or artists represented on major music labels to stuff their music into NFTs that you can trade the IP for. You don't get derivative licenses yet, even though that's totally possible. And part of me can't help but think that really it's not so much that the license holders don't know how to mass market them, but that they'd rather not sell to most people.
Well,
they don't want just any old schmo to be able to go get Billie Eilish as the intro to their to their YouTube video.
We've spoken to a very major band before that everybody knows who they are. They've been around for a long time, and it's very obvious. The reason that the labels don't want that, and they put a lot of legal hurdles in front of anything like that, is because right now the major labels, or even all the labels, can effectively have separate books, and so the royalties are not what they should be, and it's literally millions or as a whole billions of dollars they don't want to lose. Right now they're just cheating all the artists.
And that's the underlying
handshake, though. Like, they like the fact that you have to know how to call them in order to get through the customer support to get it done. Like, they don't want everybody to have it.
That pisses me off so much. That's the thing. That's one of the things that got me into Bitcoin, was like these gatekeepers who are freaking worthless, and the only reason they have value is because they are the person who knows somebody's phone number and they'll answer the phone, and that's the only reason they exist and they have a job. And and those people impede all sorts of industries all over the place. We had a guy like that in our radio room in the Navy. Dude just had a few things that was his thing that he knew about, and the fucker left without turning over. He just didn't tell anybody all the things that people had to go. He liked being the guy that people had to go to because it made him feel valuable. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's what fires me up about blockchain and indie industries, is it takes out the stagnation from your workflow and what you're trying to do in the world, so that you can get the shit done without having to I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, I won't even use it, but without having to pay somebody off or convince them that you're allowed in the club, I guess.
Right. Well, and that's why I don't think we'll see a Mario NFT that you can freely use in any game anytime soon. Like, Nintendo's not going to bring its IP to the party until it's way past time to do so.
I don't know. This is why I'm really glad that Eden is represented here, because I'm really excited about the fact that a company that I adore, like Interplay, is seeing this kind of stuff. There's something there. Not running away from it because of the noise, but literally just obviously somebody at Interplay pays attention and thinks and said, there's a lot of opinions out there, but this is worth pursuing. Yeah. And that's why I love Interplay, because they'll do shit that is dangerous. Not dangerous isn't the right word, but I don't know, if you look at some of their older IPs, they, especially in the era they were released, It's like they're willing to take some risks with how people will receive it, and it makes the game so freaking good.
Right.
Talking about Nintendo, they really in them inventing the amiibo, that really is an NFT. It's just not on blockchain.
Right.
It's a completely separate thing that you can scan, and you get a bunch of benefits, and it goes into the game. It shares so many qualities with blockchain gaming NFTs. It's almost like an analog NFT.
Yeah, it's just an insecure one. It's
I would just very, very much like to see it where Mortal Kombat could take the Yoshi NFT and you could
Yeah.
That's the Ready Player One.
I don't think Nintendo's going to be doing that anytime soon.
But when you put them all on a blockchain or several blockchains, you can then go like bring an item in and say, no, I did fairly receive this item. I didn't dupe it by putting it in my inventory and dropping the gold and then picking it up and AB start select cheat. It's actually a real thing, and that's why I say, like, basically blockchain makes it real, makes games real life.
Yeah.
The problem also with amiibos, at least for me, is I collect amiibos. I have a bunch of them. You have to have actually space to put them. With NFTs, you can store them in your wallet and have endless NFTs, endless space. In the physical world, especially with real estate prices going up, I mean, space is very limited. It is scarce itself. So,
dude, you don't have enough NFTs to worry about. Come on.
Yes, they were see custom wallets.
If you want to just get down to it, you could literally cut out like a little piece of the end of the amiibo that you use to scan. But I just thought that was really interesting because they share so many properties with like blockchain gaming NFTs.
Here's a question on that. So why have they not gotten the pushback? It's like, oh, this is, if I can't afford to buy one, it's like, with NFTs, you get that whole side of, it's like, oh, you're bringing the financials into this. Whereas with that, it's like, oh, you have to go out and buy one of those.
That's a direct result of the way that it's talked about in the news and on Twitter and shit like that, because you have 1 or 2 or 5 NFT projects that did some stupid shit and made a bunch of money, or appeared to. Maybe they didn't even do that, and it was all just money being moved around to make it appear that way in the marketplace. Yeah. And now you just assume that, oh, all NFTs are $400 million. So that's that's stupid. Why would I do that? Yeah. Well, yeah, that's stupid. Of course it's stupid. That's not what we want to do.
There's
also like, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was going to say, I'm still waiting, and this might be a little of a boring concept, right? But imagine if, okay, we're going to release a game. Instead of just saying, okay, you bought this game and we have it in our database over here that you own it, so you can play it. Why not make an NFT that has a in-game marketplace sellback, right? So you can make more money than taking it to GameStop, but it's going to be maybe at a discount, and maybe there is some scarcity to it, but it's not on the open market, so it's not going to be going up. But you pay your $40, $60, whatever for the game, and there it is. And you buy items the same way. You could do things like that. I mean, you could buy items and attach it to the to your game character. And it's, but it isn't going to be going for, $400,000. It's just going to be $60 plus maybe a little more, or whatever somebody offer you. But there's some interesting stuff you could do there that's very boring and standard. It's just a better way to manage licensing anyway. So,
right. Well, I mean, and that makes a lot of sense, because nobody wants to live in a world where anything but the really rare stuff is. You have to go into some ridiculous dungeon and get lucky in order to get the thing that's worth a lot of money. Yeah. But also I think there's some fun too in in sort of the, maybe this is a jackpot mentality. But probably only if you're giving away the chance to get those things. Like that would be where I'd draw the line. So like if you're going to have things that are going to be open market, and the price pressure is designed to be upwards, then like everybody should get a starter pack. Sort of like those old school like Marvel.
Amiibos are extra. They're not like needed for the game. Mm-hmm. They're bonuses. And they're collectibles. They're art. They're real. It's one of the reasons why there's not a lot of pushback. like they are when it comes to NFTs.
That's a good design. And I think the NFTs should be designed the same way. Maybe not across the board, but for the most part, like if there's something that's like super valuable and it's an extra part of the game that you don't need, even if it's a mini game collectible, that you could maybe get there in the game, or you could go buy it. But that would naturally be the case, even if you didn't facilitate to where somebody could just go buy it. If it's an NFT, then it can be on a marketplace. So you don't even have to design that part.
Here's a question for you, for the lawyers in the room at least. What if you created something similar where I'm going to manufacture, and there are going to be 10,000 of this item. There's going to be 100 of this item, whatever else. So there's known scarcity. Every one of them has an embedded chip in it. Every one of them comes with a reader, right? So USB reader, and essentially the chip would it wouldn't be like I'm scanning a barcode. It would literally sign a challenge in that reader. So you would know that, oh, Joe really does hold the one of 100 of these. And now let's say that thing trades on eBay and it becomes worth a lot, and it's through no work of my own that it's become worth a lot. Is that physical item now a security?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I am an American. Tell you, yes.
I'm going to come out and say no. It can't be, because you're missing a key element. If it's marketed that way to fund future endeavors on the part of somebody else, like it becomes a security. It becomes a security if you sell it and say, because of my good fortune, I'm going to be offering this to the open market so that I can fund my own side game based on this NFT.
Well, why else do you sell shit than to raise funding for your company?
Right,
Yeah,
but
make money.
But it's like a prospective future value that you're selling to somebody. This will go up in value because of what I do with it. It has to be sort of the embedded implication. You can't just be like, because I want to pay my rent.
Let's say that you followed Howie to the T, and you did that, but with a physical item. Well, yeah, I know. But essentially to say, you did all the wrong things, and you said, hey, we're going to sell this. It's obviously going to be worth more because there are only 10 of them. It's going to be very powerful in this game that we haven't created yet, but we're going to use the money that you're giving us to create the game. And we're going to market it based upon that, and make a way for people to trade them.
You get into this bizarre world, right? Like the SEC has no business telling people they don't understand the value of what they're buying.
Right. That's one thing. But can I, like, a similar question that I just had in the context of like real estate? If I own a piece of property and I sell you a piece of property that's neighboring mine, and I say, I own 20 acres. I'm going to sell 10 of it, and I'm going to use that money to improve mine, which will increase the value of my property, which will in effect increase the value of your property by association, by proximity, because of the neighborhood, right? And I divulge this up front. It's like, hey, I need some money for home renovations, and so I'm going to sell you half of my property so I can fix my house.
Well,
I just sell you.
Bring it back.
Imagine it like this. Imagine it like this, though. Imagine you get the weirdest game on the face of the planet, and the SEC is going to investigate this one. We're going to call it Sky Dogs, and what it is it's any breed of dog that jumps out of a plane and collects treats on the way down, and it's a battle royale until the chute's open. And you also want to have like a good parachute that has the right parameters and all that stuff. And somebody has obsessively understood this to the point where they already own their chute, they already own their dog.
They've done their research.
They've done their research. They picked out the right breed, and they're ready to hit the skies with their dog as soon as.
I did that with the Conan game when it came out.
Is the SEC really going to understand this better than the person who bought it?
No.
Good point.
No.
The SEC doesn't. All government.
Unless they're going to get into understanding the finer points of Sky.
If you look at some of the moronic stuff that the ATF has done, some of the laws that they've come up with, it's comical if it wasn't so sad. Humans have always been able to fashion a weapon to defend themselves and their family, and for the ATF to come out and say, oh, you can't, make a firearm. You can't 3D print one. You can't make one. However, it's the way of thinking is changed so much. I was talking with Lisa on our show. It was yesterday, the day before. But how the former vice president said that that when it was still stupid, when the Second Amendment was written, it wasn't. They weren't taking into account these kind of weapons we have today. These weapons of war, and
right,
talking
they would
about
have guaranteed a right to
But
tanks.
what were muskets back in those days? They were the weapons of war. It's like
they were equal to the weapons that other.
Like they were the weapons of war.
Intended for us.
And then he even said, it's not like you could get a cannon. And absolutely,
you could.
The government would give you a cannon. And the rationale was, wait a minute, you want to defend your area so we don't have to? You want to take some of the burden off of us? Yes, here's a cannon. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
For helping to do our job. We have pirates that come into our bay. Can we get a cannon? Yeah, thanks.
Arguments don't get the logic.
Like
if they're trying to stop gun violence, why are they creating laws where people with guns go to get guns from people?
Well, this is related to where I am on it. Is like I shit. I've got a lot of opinions, but it's important. It's important. The argument that John was making is a decent argument. It's one that you can debate, right? There are arguments being made though that are so out of the context of reality that is a distraction. I know we're getting into politics, and this isn't the thing that we're talking about today. But
I was going to bring up something.
It's just absurd that there's so much distraction around the important issues to the point where we don't talk about reasonable solutions that could work.
Yeah. And that's why, that's blockchain. If in my opinion, anyway, the whole, it requires, in my opinion, a fundamental understanding that it's about liberty. So whatever you're applying it to, that people have the ability to do things that might not otherwise be done just because the central authorities might not have envisioned it, right? So an experiment, I would propose an experiment. We take some land in Decentraland. We tokenize it. We sell it to parties. Then we sell a contract to maintain that land for them. And essentially model exactly the Howey test, or from the Howey, from selling peach orchards, but in Decentraland, and see what happens. Just see what happens, just because it's an super interesting experiment.
Yeah.
Would it apply in that same,
I don't know. It's for educational purposes only, right?
If you guys really want to do one that would be interesting along those same lines too, like I got one for you, Joe. What if we really went out of our way to radically decentralize all of the moving parts of the security as it stands, such that the people buying it are not paying for the effort of the seller. They're paying for the effort of somebody else who's going to be indirectly financed by that already. Like, how far can we federate things and decentralize things before it stops making sense? And I think we passed that point a long time ago, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm so down for that, to invalidate laws and regulations based on just better systems. Oh, we have this now. We don't need any of that.
I think that's what DAOs ultimately are going to be.
Right. The 1933 and 1934 acts that created the SEC did not contemplate order book companies. Like, that was just a pen and a paper.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's crazy. Okay, we're at 123. You want to go ahead and close that? We have all we made it through all the questions. Beautiful. So thanks all you guys for joining. Where can people follow you? Let's start with Jay.
Yeah, Eden.world is the website. You can join the Eden NFT whitelist. We'll be announcing winners to free NFTs and prizes next week at Consensus and Decentral in Austin. If you're at Austin, you can find me. I'll be there, as well as some other Eden astronauts handing out free NFT prizes if you join the whitelist.
Dude, awesome.
Sean, you gonna go there? You're in Austin, right? I don't know if I was maybe that's I didn't mean to dox you. I don't know if that was supposed to be known or not. Anyway,
I'm on the whitelist, but I don't know if I'll be there. I might make a trip.
So Sean, what's up? What's going on?
I had an interview later today with Pre-Search. It's something I wanted to go over. I don't know if I can, if it's cool. I assume is cool because you're
Sure.
a cool guy. My great nephew had a heart attack this last week. He's 1, so it's kind of
No.
and having a lot of trouble. I was going to talk to Greg about this, but he man, I haven't slept. Been a rough week. They've done lots and lots of tests. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. How they had him on a ventilator. When they take him off, he would be okay and breathe, and then he would stop breathing again. They just found out that he has a spinal meningitis virus. So there's nothing they can really do except give him the anti-seizure meds. I think he also might be epileptic. Anyway, my niece and her fiance have been, at the hospital, and I actually just got her fiance a job working at a friend of mine's plumbing company. He's only working there about a month, so they have a GoFundMe, and I got their Litecoin address and Bitcoin address. I don't know if I can post that.
Sure.
There, Lisa
Sure.
posted
Totally.
it. That's your Litecoin address. But I'll put this in the chat. This is their GoFundMe, and I already put it in the chat. There it is. But just been trying to be, supportive of her this past week. And then we have consensus coming up next week, which I'm gonna head out there. Me and my kids will be going there. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah, totally. Post all of that. We can add it. Maybe we can add it to the description too.
Yeah.
Below, and definitely in the den side too. But if somebody could post a comment to it with it, that'd be great. Greg, what is up this week?
Well, I'm going to be trying a couple things to help Sean spread the word about his thing. Just first off, that a couple ideas popped in my head. We'll have to talk in a bit, Sean.
Okay.
But for Rivet, we've got some exciting stuff coming, and I can't really tell anyone what it is yet because we're still sort of designing and crafting it. But it's set to shake the universe a bit in terms of what people are used to expecting for what they pay for when they get an Ethereum gateway or a Node API service. We're about to shake some things up, so it's going to be pretty cool. I'm very excited about it.
Excellent. Dave, what's going on?
Yeah. So we have our Den DAO meetings on Thursdays. So I wanted to say, come out and talk to us. Joe and I will be there talking about. We just wrapped up a DM system for Den. I've been using that. It's game changer completely on Den. It feels much more. I can reach out to people and talk to them personally, right? Without it being a big open forum, that kind of thing. So it feels a lot more like it's a tighter community because of it. So what we're going to be talking about today is we have the prioritization vote coming up for the next feature to be implemented on Den. So we've got a list of 13 pretty big items, really. And so we need help from the community to figure out what's the best, what do we need to do next? You know what I mean? I've got my ideas on what I think should happen. I tend to be more of the, hey, let's build the supporting systems that can allow an easier implementation of something that we will need later kind of guy. But then other people are more of a, let's get something that I can touch and play with and feel now. And, that's what I want. So we need some input on what is, wanted, needed from the community. And that is a vote. Den is a DAO. So the Den DAO vote is accessible by any denizen. I think all of you on this screen in front of me, all the hosts have accounts. So all of you can vote on this too, even if you don't have any lot or any of the NFTs for ownership or governance for the typical layer stuff. The Den DAO one is it's all behavior based. So everybody gets a say. So
Cool.
3:00 Eastern, we'll be doing, that'll be in the Den DAO layer on Den. So you can find it there.
Right on.
Awesome.
Right. And me with Dragonchain, we have. I think we're going to get the link for the panel that I was on last week, which was the Berkeley Law something symposium. But essentially, it was law and art and tokenization, blockchain stuff. It was really successful. It was an amazing crowd, really good crowd, and very smart crowd. A lot of really good questions. So hopefully we'll get that link and we can make that public this week. And then the other thing is, if you go to den.social and you go to the Dragonchain layer, that there was a post by Bit by the Coin that has a link and some suggested items for you to communicate with if you're an American or if you're in the US, to communicate to your legislative representatives about Dragonchain's letter to the SEC and what it means and what Congress should know about. It's essentially a good opportunity to present something that is legitimate from our industry. And that explains it in a way that is, it's not all legalese. It is, very much, here's the history, here's why we did this, here's what the intent was, here's what the vision was, and here are our arguments against what the SEC is saying. Just in plain, there's a little bit of engineering speak in there, but it's mostly, as much as possible, trying to point out, for one thing, why this technology matters as a whole, right? It doesn't matter what you're going to apply it to, it matters. And too much of Congress, especially the banking committees, think that it is only about currency, right? Or only about raising money. And so anyway, it's worthwhile. So check that out. I'm begging, if you can, check it out if you can, and do that. And
I thought it was really educational. It was really well written and educational. So even if you don't give a shit about legal stuff and you don't live in the U.S. and don't care about what the government and the regulating bodies are doing here, it is still very, very good as far as like anybody who's researching how the tech works and what's special about it and why it's special in so many ways. I think it was an excellent. I don't know if it was layman's terms, but it was pretty darn close as you can get.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of work. A lot of work went into that. So that's it. Awesome. Make sure you join us next week, but make sure in the meantime that you share this episode, like, retweet, do all of whatever you can with this episode, because the more, there were only 3 questions, right? So the more it's shared, the more lot all the participants will get. And that's what we really want. Make sure you go and vote on that open vote in the WBRT DAO. Next week, the theme is blockchain and manufacturing. We'll see everybody then. Thanks, you guys. That's it.
The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of the never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?